I still remember the way her voice shook that night. Soft, careful, almost rehearsed. "Ethan," she whispered. "I'll tell you everything on Friday." Those words haunted me, echoing long after she left the kitchen. Everything. What did she mean by that? For 3 days, I drifted between anxious anticipation and quiet fear. Claire had never been good at hiding her feelings. She was lively, expressive, the kind of person whose eyes always gave away what her lips tried to conceal. But recently, those same eyes had grown distant. We'd been married for 8 years, enough time to read each other's rhythms, enough to recognize the subtle signs of happiness or withdrawal. Lately, she had started coming home late. Not outrageously late, but late enough to make me pause before speaking, questions dying on my tongue. I wanted to trust her. I still did. But Friday, that word became a finish line I didn't want to cross. Wednesday came. I forced normalcy, cooked dinner, set the table, followed our familiar routines. She poked at her food, offered half smiles, and stared at her phone as if waiting for permission to leave. When I asked if something was wrong, she brushed it off. "I just need to clear my head." By Thursday, I stopped pretending. I went to bed early, feigning sleep. When she finally climbed into bed hours later, I felt the mattress sink beside me. There was a faint perfume, different from her usual scent. She didn't touch me, didn't say goodnight. Just scrolled her phone until the screen went dark. That was the night I realized I already knew the answer. I just didn't want to hear it. Friday arrived, looking like any other day. I showered, went to work, but my mind was elsewhere. Each hour, I checked my phone, expecting her call, but nothing came. At 6, a text appeared. "Can you meet me at the cafe on River Street?" No emojis, no explanation, just the words. The sky was gray when I arrived. She sat by the window, hair tucked behind her ear, stirring a cold cup of coffee. She looked smaller, fragile somehow. When I approached, she gave a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm glad you came," she said softly. I sat down, heart hammering. "You said you'd tell me everything." She nodded and looked down. For a moment, I thought she might cry. Then the words came. Truths that seep into your bones rather than hitting you all at once. "I met someone, Ethan." My hands froze around my coffee cup. The air between us grew heavier, colder. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she continued, voice trembling. "It started as a friendship. Someone I work with. I didn't mean for it to go this far." I listened, watching her lips move, trying to soften the blow of her betrayal. My mind replayed every quiet night, every excuse, the unfamiliar scent of her perfume. Pieces of the puzzle fell into place, cruel and undeniable. When she paused, she reached for my hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I wanted to be honest." I didn't move, didn't speak. The silence was louder than any shout could have been. After a while, I asked, "Is it serious?" Her hesitation said more than any answer could. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I can't pretend anymore." I looked out the window as life carried on obliviously outside. In that quiet moment, I understood something. This wasn't the end of our marriage, it was the end of the man I had been in it. That night, the house felt foreign. Every photo, every dent, every familiar object carried the echo of a version of us that no longer existed. Claire didn't return home. Around midnight, she texted, "I'll stay at my sister's for a few days. I think it's best." Best? For whom? I didn't reply. I just sat on the couch, staring at the blank television, realizing that silence can scream louder than words. The next morning, I woke before dawn. Habit. Made coffee. Watched the sun creep over the rooftops. My wedding ring felt heavier than usual, as if it knew it no longer belonged. I slid it off and placed it on the counter beside my cup. It made a small clink, loud enough to mark the moment I decided I was done waiting for explanations that couldn't heal me. The weekend slipped by in fragments, work messages, solitary meals, the low hum of an empty house, learning to exist in a space she no longer occupied. On Sunday evening, I drove to the lake. It was the place where we had once celebrated our 3rd anniversary, sharing takeout and weaving dreams that now felt like illusions. I watched the water shimmer in the dimming light. For the first time in years, I let myself feel anger, not only toward her, but toward myself for ignoring the warning signs, for clinging to patience as a virtue, for believing love alone could anchor someone who wanted to drift. By Monday, I began sorting through the house, not in anger, but in a quiet act of survival. Her belongings still carried her scent, the vanilla lotion, the perfume that had never been meant for me. I packed everything carefully. When I reached our wedding photograph, I lingered. She smiled, hand in mine. I traced the frame with my thumb before setting it face down. That evening, she called. Her voice was small. "Can we talk?" she asked. I paused. "About what?" "About us." "There is no us, Claire. There's only what was and what remains. They are not the same." She exhaled, a shaky breath that would once have undone me. "Not now. I made a mistake," she admitted. "I don't know what I was thinking." "You were thinking you might be happier somewhere else," I said softly. "Maybe you will be, just not here." Silence stretched between us, the kind that eventually becomes acceptance. "I never wanted to hurt you," she whispered. "Then you shouldn't have promised forever when you meant only until," I said. "I didn't mean it that way," she cried. Somewhere in that conversation, my grief had transformed into something steadier, peace, perhaps, or simple resignation. After we hung up, I deleted her number. Not out of anger, but necessity. Closure, I realized, doesn't arrive with answers. It comes when you refuse to reopen wounds that never deserved tending. Weeks went by. At work, people noticed I was quieter, more present. My friend Mark asked me out for drinks. I declined. I wasn't hiding from life. I was reclaiming it on my own terms. One evening, I saw her unexpectedly in a grocery store parking lot. She looked thinner, tired. Our eyes met for a fleeting second, and in that moment, I glimpsed something I hadn't anticipated, perhaps regret, maybe even comprehension. She offered a weak smile. I nodded in return. No words, no confrontation, just two people acknowledging the shadow of what once existed. As I drove away, a simple truth struck me. Sometimes you don't receive the apology you feel you deserve. And that's okay, because peace isn't something anyone can grant you. It's something you seize when you stop waiting. For the first time in months, I felt light. Not a happiness born of joy, but a freedom born of release.